Welcome back, you guys. In today's video, we are going to be simplifying the process of installing baseboard. I've whittled down the process so that I don't have to think very much and I can just install, which is what I want to help you guys do. Really quickly, I want to thank DAP for sponsoring the video. Pretty cool to have DAP sponsoring because they're the products I've been using for my entire career. If you want to help support the channel, choose DAP products whenever you can. So my setup here is very old Hitachi saw. I really like to have a dual bevel saw. I also have my vacuum hooked up to it, which does reduce some of the dust. It's a pretty good combo. I like to put the garbage can right here for all the offcuts. And this is just a really old Ryobi saw stand that I've been running for about 15 years now. I have a 18 gauge brad nailer, Milwaukee. It's a little on the heavy side, but it does a very good job. We're gonna be using 2-inch brad nails. And the baseboard is some reused. So all of this stuff I got from ripping out of a job. This floor was from ripping it out of a job, and this is all salvaged from a job. So it is, I believe it's 5.5-inch baseboard by 3/4 MDF. Yeah, 5.5, 3/4 MDF. So I'm set on 0 here. We're just gonna give ourselves a nice clean cut to start with. So you can get out a tape measure if you want, or you can just mark this. Now we have a little problem here. This casing is narrower than the baseboard. This is probably gonna be a temporary solution here, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna give this a little chamfer here just to soften the edge. So 45, I just do this part by eye. Okay, if you want to find studs, there's a couple ways to do it. If you understand how walls are framed, there should be a long framing member going this way, and then you have your vertical studs. So the first thing I always do is I nail down into the bottom. And that should give you some pretty good grab. You're almost always going to have something around where the door jamb is. And you'll have something in this top corner here, if the framing was decent. So at this point, if you have a stud sensor, this is a really good one, this Franklin one. So it'll show you right where it is, you see, but I already knew that there was one there because I looked for a telltale sign of a screw pop. You won't be able to see it on camera, but I can see a tiny little lump right here. So what I would have done is I would have gone, okay, right there. And you can tell if it hit it because it won't be able to pull back. So I know I hit it there. And if you want to find the next one, generally, if you have a 16-inch layout, so we go right there, there's that. Let's check. I mean, I can already see a screw pop right there, so it's good, but boom, right? Exactly where I put the tape. So finding the studs is the easy part. So there's one. So again, we want to square this corner up. This is kind of nasty. So you always want to make sure your board is tight against the fence so that you get a square cut. Okay, this board, I have a minimum of 152, 12'8". We need to land it on a stud. So 12'8" is where I said it goes to. Now, in this little spot, yeah, it's right there, where the old baseboard nails were. So we will just put a mark right there. 145 is gonna be good. Could even be a bit shorter, but I'll call it 145. What did I say, 145? I'm gonna make it a little shorter, 1/8 shorter. So we're gonna go to 30, just because it's an easy one to find. I don't have to think very hard. And make sure that your piece is not just tight against here, but held flat. Okay, so for the next one, if you're doing butt joints, you don't need any glue in the corner. You wanna make sure that this lines up nicely. So this gap, if you're really not happy with it, there is something you can do. For paint grade trim, this is perfectly acceptable. I've just got a flat bar. Perfectly acceptable to pull that out a little bit. Or we could have just let that get filled with caulking. It would be fine anyways. If you want to make sure that this Actually stays where it is. Put the flat bar in there and then give it one more nail behind the baseboard line so there's less to fill. See, the baseboard now covers that. And that's pretty decent. And again, we know we always have something in the bottom. And on this one, because we're getting farther away from the inside corner, you might want to angle a little bit. But this is where a lot of people make mistakes. They don't know how their gun operates yet, and they don't have it depressed properly, and they always get clickers in here. So you should not be able to feel the nail when you do that. If you leave a bunch of those, you're gonna have to come back with a nail punch when you're painting, or if you're doing this professionally and there's a painter following you behind you, they are gonna be really mad about that. So you gotta have your nails set properly. Again, this is a great gun. If you're interested, link in description. Okay, finding more studs. So this is actually pretty easy. If I had to guess, I would say, well, this screw pop is going to tell us right away. Look at that. You can almost always find a stud on either side of one of these. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to lay the tape measure out. You don't have to mark out every one of these. Just find one. So we lined up the red mark, which is your 16-inch center mark. So we know there's going to be something coming down from this framing right here. At least there should be. Don't forget to push down when you're installing, especially if you're installing over a floating laminate floor. It's often has a little bit of play, so you want to push it down. And now we can just go where every 16-inch mark is. I think I have a long enough piece here. And again, we're going to do butt joints in that corner. So before we change the saw, cut the other side of your bevel, miter, whatever you want to call it. Another quick tip, you'll notice that I always try to cut. I don't plant the saw down and then go forwards or backwards. If you want to get the straightest cut, boom, boom. Measure into your corner. And we're measuring to this outer face right here. And I would say it is 1/24 and 3/16, bang on. Although my tape wasn't straight, so as soon as I straightened it a bit, I lost a 1/2 16th, or about 3/4 of a millimeter for you metric folk. This one needs to be pretty bang on. Regular PVA glue, which is wood glue, carpenter's glue, whatever you want to call it. Keep it simple. Okay, here's the technique for installing a baseboard. You want to bend it a little bit, and then boom, like that. So, nail it. If it actually hit a stud, you can sometimes get a bit of the slack out of it. That's good enough. Nail the bottom. We know we have something here. Find your studs, which is right here. You guys see this screw pop? I mean, how can you miss it? So that one didn't hit. See how I can pull it out again? Should have. Try the other side. Yeah, maybe there's not much there. Okay, let's just try this guy because right here it was hard to see what was going on. Yep, that's it. It's pretty obvious. You can see that it just sucks in and won't let go if you hit the right spot. Now you may also notice that I'm sliding around here pretty nicely. Knee pads are your friends. Okay, so this is pretty darn good. It's a little bit lippy, and when that's the case, what I usually do is I will just sand it a little bit And it's a bit lippy because it was long. It's not the end of the world. You can also put some spackle on that, feather it out a little. But I usually just do this for the painters real quick. Makes them happy. But we'll see if we can get a little tighter on the next one. I am the painter though, so I actually don't have to do this right now. I can do it later. If you want to see really quick what I have in the tool belt, we have a pencil, knife, brad nails, sandpaper, tape measure obviously, wet rag. I don't need this nail bar in here. I've been doing framing. Glazier's bar, nail punch. Speed square, don't really need it, but we'll just keep it in there. It's not taking up much space. Okay, so that's great that we got 3 pieces installed, but you don't want to be up and down off your knees every time you're measuring and cutting a piece. So I usually will actually do a lot more bulk cutting. So let's get that done. So I got one of these. This will help for measuring and to write down your measurements. So we got 46 and 11, and I often have a little guide. So square, square, and then because we know we'll have a piece of baseboard installed there, I think I'll measure right to the outside of this bead, 23 3/8, 1 square corner, and then this one is going to be one of those little 45s. So I have my own little code. This one's full length, 23 7/8, same thing, square here, funny little angle there. I see a nail that somebody didn't take out. So that in the corner. So 46 5/8, square, square. 52 1/2 exactly. Square and a bevel. That was a funny drawing, but. So now right here, it doesn't have to have the bevel, that'll come in handy later. Right here, we are gonna have a piece from here to here. So now we'll measure 23. 23, and it's gonna be a miter and a miter. And now we have this last piece right here. Let's check the top and the bottom. 5 and 13, 5 3/4. We are gonna cut it to the longer measurement. So I hate switching my saw back and forth from 45. I usually try to lump the cuts in with other stuff, but sometimes you just have to. First 2 done. For outside corners, I will always cut a 46. For inside miters, I cut a 44. The reason is because of the buildup of mud on an outside corner, it makes it more like that by just a little bit. And inside corners, again, are always built up with mud that pushes them out a bit. So it's just taking into account the fact that they aren't actually even built square. So don't get butthurt at the drywallers. Just know that like they can't make the corners perfectly square with the methods that they have to do their job. So we're gonna take that into account and we're gonna go to 46. Now if I'm really careful with this cut, this piece is like long enough by 1/4 inch to get what Oh yeah. I have enough material, but I still just like cutting it efficiently. Okay, cutting technique. So I cut it a little bit long. I can usually eyeball it perfect, but for the sake of demonstration. So now to slide this back, I'm holding it tight. It's braced on here, it's braced on here, and I'm just gonna like inch it back. Actually, it needed to go the other way, but. So it's the tiniest little movements that you can't even see while I'm bracing the whole thing. Now that we've cut all our 45s, back to 0. 52.5. So that's just a little bit about cutting efficiency, is grouping your similar cuts together where you can. 5 13/16 small. So when I say a 16th small, this is just gonna drive the metric people crazy because like, you guys don't have to deal with this, but sometimes a 1/16 of an inch, the increment is too big. And so when I say 5 13/16 small, it's in between. It's actually the same as 5 3/4 plus. It's just in between the 16th. Okay, now we gotta install them. All right, let's put this all into practice now. Okay, push down. Right here. We're gonna go there. That worked. There's no guarantees there's anything in here, so what we're gonna do is we are going to thread it. Good enough until it gets caulked. So the 2 nails have more withdrawal strength, even if they're just hitting drywall. Thread it. Bottom plate, inside corner. Bottom plate. Bottom plate, inside corner. Stud. Measure. Is it good? Good. Okay, this wall has water in it behind. There's water lines, and I don't know where they are. So here's a little cheat code. First, before you even try, because this one has outside corners now, which we haven't dealt with yet. We haven't dealt with these yet, so let's see how it all lines up before we go crazy. That is good enough. I can work with that. All right, so water lines in here. What are we gonna do? Are we just gonna fire 2-inch nails in here? No. This is also what we would do if we were working on steel stud. You can use construction adhesive. I have found that DAP is more than good enough. This is just the Alex Plus. So this is basically just acting as dabs of construction adhesive. It's good enough to hold it there until the glue sets. Or I should say the nails will be good enough. All right, so I know that I'm safe here, safe here. So if you're ever doing a wall that's on the other side of a bathroom or a kitchen wall that you know has water in it, this is a really good technique to keep you from putting a nail into a water line because it's really easy to do. That needs to get pushed down. I know I'm safe to about here and to about here. This whole area is the danger zone. So we are now, in combination with the glue, we're gonna use the threading technique. Because if I go like this, a 2-inch nail can't go far enough to puncture something. So that's, the threading is good enough to hold it while the caulking sets. So that's where this stuff comes in handy. Thanks again to DAP for sponsoring the video. Like I said, I use this stuff all the time, so it's not even like some weird sponsored content. Do a dry fit, always a good idea. Like this looks long, but you can get away with it being a little bit long. Remember the video where I showed you guys to flatten this out? Look how nice and flat that is. It was a YouTube short. This is why we do it. Look at that, because otherwise there'd be a gap like this, big U shape. So here we go. In practice, that's what it looks like. So there's slight gaps, but that's actually all good enough. I'm gonna go with it. I could fuss, I could run and cut it. If it was stain grade trim, might need to, but this is all paint grade trim, so we can fix it all by caulking it. I don't know why I glued 2 sides. Again, that's a filming a YouTube video mistake, not something I would have done normally. So we'll line up the outside right there. Because that's good, if I nail it, I'm gonna push it in. So I'm starting on this side with no nails in the gun. Okay, line that up, nail here, nail here. And that's looking pretty good. I do not, that went into the drywall a little bit further back. I don't put nails, I don't thread these. Like some people will put nails in here. It's really sketchy to do that. So I don't usually thread my joints, and I would definitely not do it with the gun like this. Something a lot of people don't know is that because of the angles of the nails, if you shoot a nail in here, it's likely to go boom. That's just what it does. So if you're going to thread your joints, do not do it like this, do it like this. Because that way those points aren't gonna come out as easily. One of the things I forgot to explain is hand positioning. People love to shoot brads into their fingers when nailing outside corners. So what you have to think is, how long are the fasteners I'm using? Well, they're 2 inches long. So if I'm holding this together and I put a nail right here, and that nail decides to wander off and veer out, it's gonna go into my hand. So your hand should be at least 2 inches away from those brad nails at all times. There's no reason to put your hand there. This nail right here, and there might be something there. There's definitely something there. So if we want to tighten this up a bit, we can try this. I hate doing it. This side. But again, if you don't do it like this, you'll be good. All right, it's got to be sideways like that. There we go. That's beautiful. So little gaps like this are more than acceptable for paint grade trim. When the baseboard gets caulked, right? You can just take a bit of that and make sure to wipe it off too. You don't want to leave any of that residue. It'll be ugly. Nice and tidy. And then a couple coats of paint will fill in anything else, so don't worry about it. I'm playing with it now. Not even gonna finish that sentence. Don't play with it. I didn't say it. I think we should take a moment to explain this little chamfered cut that we do to help it give a more finished appearance. I said I just do it by eye, which is true. I just look at it and it's probably less than 1/4 inch. If I was to like measure right here, what it actually is, and it can vary depending on the size of the baseboard, but yeah, I'd say it's just under 1/4 inch, which would be the equal amount right here. And then I just kind of look at it. I'm like, does that look appealing? Is it enough or is it not enough? And I'd say on this one, no, I want a tiny bit more, just a little bit. But if you want to get them all consistent, it is good to know that number. Choose it depending on the baseboard and what looks best. You got to learn to trust your eye. Okay, we're going to install these pieces that I cut really quick. I didn't film the cutting because it wasn't anything different than what I had already done. I would say having this really is a pretty essential tool. This wall is weird. There's something going on in this wall. Whatever. If that's holding, we're good enough. Get another here. We'll just thread it. Gonna nail this end in first. Always start where your joint is, just to make sure that it's exactly where it's supposed to be. And I'd say that's pretty good. Okay. Yeah. Don't use my glue. It's got my mouth on it. Now, I don't usually sweat it when something's a tiny bit long like that. Oh, bifold door, proceed with caution. If you're not careful, you'll nail the door in, right? And then when you try and slide the thing, you'll hear these scraping sounds and have a big scratch on your door. So that's another thing to watch out for. It's a great time to thread your nails again. All these little things that it's so easy to not know. Okay, so if this was stain grade, you would have to do a better job on this miter, but paint grade is lovely because you can literally just flush it up. And especially if you do it when the glue's still wet, it kind of fills it. It's great. Perfect. Okay, but we didn't finish back here. Let's get that done. It's obviously here. Not there, not there. Right here. Those screw pops, it may be a pain, but not when you're installing baseboard. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna give you a little tip about this unfinished edge, because if you go ahead and paint this with finished paint or even primer, it's gonna soak in all the paint and it's gonna take at least 2 more coats of paint. But if you want to be able to just apply 2 coats of finished paint, spreading some caulking on it will seal it and it'll stop that grain from raising up, and then you can just do 2 coats of finished paint. There's a little hack for you. So you don't have to pre-prime those, just get some caulking on those and it's good and ready for your finished paint, because this totally seals it up and stops it from fuzzing up and soaking it in. Okay, for inside miters, we already talked about it a bit, but 44 is my preferred spot on the saw. These old saws are good because it doesn't have a bunch of complicated parts to it, electronic components, digital, nothing goes wrong. I've been using this saw for almost 15 years. It's pretty crazy. Make sure everything's flat. Really matters for miters. And this one needs the little 45. I'm gonna go to 44 so that I can cut my next piece. This is now our 30-degree cut for a miter. So remember, this is the part where you are cutting the complementary side to that bevel. Can't mess this up. This is the last long board. Double check, yep. However, it's actually to the bottom of this. 44. And this cut is a little bit tricky because we're actually going to this bottom part right here. So the miter is gonna down there. So again, this is one of those times where start a bit long because you can always take more off, right? So close. Okay, we got to start with this side because it's got the cabinet to go behind. And how is that? Is that short? It's a hair short, I'd say. So I'm actually going to push it. We can afford to have a little gap right there. Yep. And we'll just shoot into thin air here, just for fun. Now, for inside miters, I'll usually leave these floating. I won't nail them right away. That way you still have room to adjust them if you have to. Hopefully we have some, did we hit wood there? Great. Got a little gap right here. Okay, the screw pops are really obvious here. Boom. Yep, you can spot those screw pops from a mile away. There's always something here. And how about here? Yeah, stud layout continued. Leave your corner floating at first. So I'll show you guys why. If we nail the corners in, boom, open gap, okay?
You say boom a lot.
Boom. My wife says I say boom a lot. Don't be so judgy. Except I think there's some chef that already has that as a catchphrase, so it can't be mine. I mean, I already have one, feather that edge. So how does that apply? Here. Okay. So we'll start over here. This side for sure. So, screw pop. I got so many screw pops to fix here. Yep. Now, nailing in these corners. So you can cut a couple of shims if you want, or you can do that thing like we did before. Go like this. And sometimes I don't even nail the bottom one. Okay. So I am gonna nail the bottom, but let's see if it opens it up. Nope, we're good. We're good. It did open that bottom one up a little bit, but as long as the top is still closed and that gap is really minimal. Miters are nice, so much better than butt joints. Okay, and we got this one last piece here. And I will be measuring to the outside of the miter. So 48.5, almost bang on. Okay, and thankfully we already cut that miter on one side. What do I say, 48.5? I'm gonna do 48.5 plus, because we can always cut a little more off. 44, and now, I usually just eyeball the teeth with the cut. I don't always do all those incremental things. Okay, let's see how this fits. A little long. That's good though. We can work with a little long. So one technique you can do to just cut a bit off is push it against the blade and then lift it up. And that's gonna give me a bit too much. So it depends how hard you push the blade. That's probably good. That probably gave me about 1.3 millimeters. I'm pretty happy with that. It's sticking out a hair, but I'll see if I can make it work. And here,
I want to get the light. I want to get the light. I can't see.
okay. I'm gonna go with that little gap down there I can live with. Keep this here while I nail this. That's it. We're done. I could try tightening this up a little. It's close, but I can feel just the littlest bit of lippage. Flat-faced hammer. You can get away with a few small hits on paint grade trim. My wife just asked why the new piece was lower. I don't know. It's probably because there's a slight hump in the floor right here. And then so when you try and line them up, they're actually the same, but this piece appears to be going up. That's one of those things that you don't worry about too much. Again, little caulk, little paint, makes the carpenter what he ain't. Yeah, that's how I do it. And I know somebody is screaming about coping corners. Well, there's no profile on this, so there's no point in coping corners. And honestly, I've always found coping corners unnecessary and time consuming. So that's my take on it. But let me know in the comments why you cope corners, why you think it's better or worse. Let's hear it all. And tell me everything else you guys know about baseboard. Leave it all in the comments. I want to say thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something. I enjoyed doing some carpentry on this channel for once. It's been nice. And once again, a big thanks to DAP for sponsoring the video. If you want to support the channel, consider choosing DAP products wherever applicable. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you're doing well, and till the next video.